Mike, we have returned. We're back in episode 25. What? 25. We're going to start. We're going to review. We're going to look at the London Derby, the big North London Derby, go through the week's fixtures. But first, we jump right into the Champions League. And there really are only two groups that involve two gigantic teams that we have to cover. One is Real Madrid being fucked, and two is Man United, and we vote for chaos. What do you take away from where we are in the Champions League, Mike?
Yeah, it's good to be back. I think the word is chaos, right? Like I don't have a dog in the fight. I want to see all hell break loose, and I think we've gotten a lot of that to this point. We really can't be asking for too much more, but we have to ask a little bit more of the Shakhtar Donetsk and the Borussia Mönchengladbachs of the world.
That's a lot of fucking letters, dude.
That is so many syllables. Oh my God. If I told you that there were two recognizable world football powers in a Champions League group, and I told you then after 5 of the 6 games, they would be 3rd and 4th place in that group.
Yeah.
You would be sprinting off to Vegas to make just retirement.
Well, I mean, look at Gladbach's +9.
Yeah.
Because they kicked the shit out of Shakhtar.
So, real quick. Let's go through Group B in Champions League this year. Is Borussia Mönchengladbach and Shakhtar Donetsk, as I already struggled through. Real Madrid and Inter Milan. Again, two massive, massive powers. Inter Milan, not exactly what they were 10 years ago, but still quite a big
they are a name. It's Inter, right? And it's Conte, and it's Zinedine Zidane, the 3-time UCL championship coach. The guy won it back to back to back. Okay.
The untouchable, right? And yet here we are after 5 games. Gladbach on 8 points, Shakhtar on 7 with a -7 goal difference, Madrid sitting on 7 in 3rd place, and Inter Milan is bringing up the rear with 5. Now the difference is anything can still happen. We go into the last match day just looking for, like we said, looking for chaos. Where do we go? First, we go back to the San Siro, Inter Milan hosting Shakhtar. Now that's a play your way into the tournament.
But I mean, you expect Inter to win that. I mean,
of course.
But Shakhtar have been good. Now, the thing is with Shakhtar is it's not just that they've won. Like, it's not like this cohesive group of 11. It's like they don't believe in COVID in the Ukraine. They have fans at the games. Half the team in the first match of the match week, they played guys like off the street, like they're playing their U17s, and they still got results, right? And that's why Gladbach just stomped them twice, because Gladbach is actually that team, and you're like, oh, this is a good German team. They know how to counterattack. They have Thuram, the famous son of a World Cup winner, who's up front. And, he scores goals. They play the German way, the new German way, which is pressing, power, pace. They can score goals. Like, that's a real team, right? Like, that's not a joke, right? They're more the one that's been taken care of. And then you have Inter with Conte, who is just known for being bad in the Champions League, right? He started the Juventus run. They're still winning the league every year, but he won the first 3. Then it was Allegri for 4, and then Sarri for 1, and now it's Pirlo because it's a broken league. And then Real Madrid is just, they really haven't reloaded. They still are relying on Kroos and Modric, and if you can imagine, you've got 2 all-time great midfielders who just Casemiro, who just can't get around. And so they just get played through. And their defenders, when they don't have Ramos, who's like weirdly their talismanic leader, who's willing to do anything, they just get beat. And Varane is terrible when he's not there. Like, Varane has been a catastrophe whenever Ramos isn't there. And they just don't have answers, right? They just don't have players. The Hazard thing is a disaster. Basically, they spent $180 million on someone who was supposed to be their approximation of Ronaldo, and he's fat and lazy and gets hurt all the time.
It is kind of interesting how they've let go of Gareth Bale, and they used to call him lazy and injury prone and this and that, and they spent all this money on Eden Hazard, who's basically just become fat Gareth Bale for them.
Right. But he's a French Belgium, so he's got the Zidane love. He played in France, and he's not getting killed, right? Because Bale is English, whatever. And granted, Bale had his shot. They gave him a little bit of a shot, and he didn't play as well as Cristiano because nobody does, right?
Well, he scored the game-winning goal in the Champions League final twice, but I guess that's not enough for the Madrid.
Right. Aside from that, but I'm saying like Cristiano is in the Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan vein of like, if I fucking score my goals, we're gonna win, and don't fuck around. Give me the ball. Like if I don't, we're winning this fucking game. Like I think the thing with Cristiano, and this isn't an indictment on it's the difficulty of replacing that kind of personality, is like I just remember him in the Euro when he was injured, basically coaching Portugal, right? He's in the box with the coach, fucking yelling at guys and just urging them on. Like, we're not losing. This is my shot. I'm winning a trophy, even though I'm injured. Get it done, right? He's that guy. Like, he could have a 30 for 30. He could have a thing like that. For like, if they had filmed the last season in Real, when both he and Bale are just like, where's my money? I'm happy to leave. Give me my check, please.
I think it's been so interesting to see him over the years and in big games.
Just deliver.
I'm blanking for the opponent, but
Juve.
It was one of those where it looked like
it was the Juve game.
It was Juve. Yes, I was going to say that. And he went, no. Nobody move. Give me the ball. Get out of my fucking way.
I think he scored a hat trick.
I was going to say, I think he had 3 that day.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where you're like, oh, Madrid's on the ropes. Oh, nope. Never mind. They're fine. They're totally fine.
But they had been having seasons like that. Like they won 3 Champions Leagues, but never won the league in those seasons. Right. And then Zidane was really happy to win the league last year because Barca's basically the whole league is down. But anyway, we went a little bit far into that, but like it's shaping up to be all we ask for in these stupid groups that are designed to make sure that the big teams win is that something weird happens and we have games to play for at the end.
And we do, right? So and the best part about and it's true for the last game of the season in the Premier League. It's true for the last games in Champions League and Europa League as well in the group stage, where everybody in the group plays at the exact same time, right?
So awesome.
You don't know what's going on in the other stadium.
That Golazo show on CBS is going to be killer.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Inter Milan and Shakhtar, Real Madrid and Gladbach. Here's how it goes. If you get a result, you're in. Except for Milan's going to need help. Milan will need help with a win. They need
Gladbach to lose, or are they playing Gladbach?
They're playing Shakhtar, so they will hop Shakhtar with a win, and they need a Gladbach win because then they'll be on 8. Gladbach will be on 11. So Inter need Gladbach to win also. But point is that all 4 teams go into the final day with something to play for, and not just pride, right?
Right, it's awesome. And then in Group H, we already have chaos reigning. There are 3 teams on 9.
It's a knife fight.
Yeah.
And we went into this. We went into this saying comfortably this was the group of death, right? So
yeah, it already was.
This was going to be nuts.
Right. United have the best goal difference. Leipzig are probably the best coached of the 3, but they fuck up, right? Like even yesterday, they won. If you watch this Istanbul Başakşehir, there's a dude on that team that scored a hat trick, combined distance, 75 yards.
Yeah.
Like incredible goals. Just like, what the fuck? Why is this team that sucks in this? But anyway, he had a European night, a moment for his life. He'll have it forever. But Leipzig almost blew that game. It ended up 4-3. But Leipzig are a good team. We talked about them. That's where Werner came from. They have Nagelsmann. Now they have Umbacano. So they have players that
are Man, it doesn't matter.
I'm not going to go Ooga Booga. I want to go Ooga Booga, but I think that's racist in today's climate. But I'm going to go Ooga Booga. I'm definitely going Ooga Booga. So Umbacano, Kano, whatever. It doesn't matter. Why is my phone ringing? I'm not answering. That's my brother. Hi, Benna. But, PSG have the name brand, but they're a little weak. They just go by what Neymar does. If he wants them to win, they win.
And Mbappe.
But he follows Neymar. Do you know what I mean? Like the culture of that team is weak, right? And then Man United are just I don't know I don't know how to say it without always being like Ole out, Ole out. Listen, he's a decent guy. He gets things done. He holds the culture of the club in his heart. He's not going to be the coach when they win a trophy.
I agree with that.
Right?
I think,
and it's Manchester United. So it's just like, why do you have him? Like,
why? Yeah. What are you waiting for? So the way that I see that this match day 6 kind of shaping up, PSG has Istanbul.
That should be easy.
They're getting through.
But they're weak.
Okay. But worst case, unless United and Leipzig draw, they're still through.
Who?
Right? PSG.
Yes.
They're all on 9. So unless there's a draw in the other game, they're in.
Yes. Okay? Yes.
So I gotta think that PSG is going to probably finish first in this group.
Well, it's two from 3, right? One of them isn't going to make it.
Exactly. But
it's most likely
Leipzig. Well,
right.
Yeah, but they're home facing United. So this calls into question.
They have to win though. United just need a result.
That's right. I'm sorry. So that's fair. So it is the least likely that they'll get through, but nonetheless, we've seen this before with always United, right? And you were just saying, is this the game where he can kind of put his stamp on it and say, this is why I deserve a much longer contract.
This is the game that they're going to play the way that the best versions of United are in games like this. They play a double pivot. They'll play Matic and McTominay because Fred got himself fucked up in the last game. They'll sit tight and deep. They'll play 5 across the back, and they'll just go on the break. That's the only way they play well. Sometimes they get lucky with Fernandes when teams don't pay attention. But really, if you sit on Fernandes, they can't score. Right?
The thing that I found unique at the weekend was that they found
Cavani.
A new source.
Yeah, Cavani.
Right? And new source, same as the old source back from PSG, ironically. But that was quite a performance off the bench. So does he just allow a little bit more space for a Fernandes or for a Rashford, right? So that's kind of the thing I've been wondering. Like, all you need to do is make teams think a little less about Fernandes because of I'm thinking here, and then things start to open up a lot more.
The thing that he does is like, it's movement, right? Cavani is just, you just feel like, oh, how did he get there? He's always there, right? He got on his head on some balls that were just like that last goal. I think in against Southampton was he cricked his neck sideways and he gets it on target, right? He's just impressive. He's just a world-class striker. I mean, he just is, right? He's just one of those guys. You're just like, oh, he's that guy. Now, is he a carrier of the ball? And he's a guy who just stays inside the box and scores you goals. And they have talent enough to get guys in there. And as much as Martial is a number 9 and did score 20 goals last year, he hasn't scored any this year. And there is half the audience that's just like, the dude's not a 9, right? He's not a back to goal. He doesn't score headers. And he's got that. He's like, I know you probably hate Bill Simmons. I like Bill Simmons. He's my age. He's my cohort. The body language doctor does not like Martial.
Sure.
Right?
I get that.
He's always just like, oh, fucking, this sucks.
Yeah.
But then
that makes sense.
He does something amazing. But I do think that they're better, right? They have a chance. They have a chance to get through. I mean, United with a good coach would be much better, right?
United, ironically, with Nagelsmann, who they'll face next week, would be much better.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going ballsy. I'm going Leipzig. I'm rooting for chaos, baby.
I mean, Leipzig made the semifinal last year, right?
Yeah.
So same.
And without Werner, it should be said because he
bailed.
Yeah, he was like, I'm out of here.
I can't.
He didn't join.
You know, when
Chelsea.
I really think about that, I'm like, that's fucked up, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, at least play out the string. Everybody knew that De Ligt and all those guys from Ajax 2 years ago, everybody knew they were leaving. In fact, they were talking about it during the game. Who's going to pay the most for him? It's like, hi, holy disrespect. They're in the semifinal of the Champions League. Can we talk about that? Nope. We're talking about how Barcelona is going to pay $400
and Ziyech too. All of them. That team is awesome.
Right.
Anyway,
believe me, I got a good look at them. But yeah, I think.
and then one last thing I want to give a shout out to the most handsome man in football, Olivier Giroud, with the fucking natural hat trick in a row. Left, right, header. The header was incredible. Then he finishes off a 4-goal performance on a penalty that he created. So just Olivier Giroud, respect to you. I feel like I've always liked him, but I am attracted to handsome men. So it could be that I just like him. Huh? It's French?
It's the French thing.
The guy's a fucking legend. Come on.
I've always hated him because he's been at Arsenal and now Chelsea, right?
Yeah. I get it.
I've been predisposed to disliking him, and I feel cheated by this because he seems, pardon me, he seems like a really likable player.
I know. And then
I hate that.
Right. And then he's like, well, I don't play enough. And then he's like, oh yeah, watch this. I'm going to play and fucking kick some ass. And then he's the glue guy for France, right? Like you might not, he doesn't score the goals,
right.
But he played in every game in the World Cup, didn't score any goals, but they won, right? So he's the striker who's just there. And he's like weirdly number 3 all time in goals for France. What?
It's interesting. Although
this is a country that had Henry and like, Trezeguet and Zidane. Well, Zidane wasn't a goal scorer, but just legends beyond legends, and he's just the guy.
He's around there.
But he's a good guy. He's a team player guy. He's now on my list of like, can he go someplace awesome and be awesome? So I've put him on Brighton and Leeds now in 5 different threads.
I don't think he works on Leeds. I don't think he's got the wheels for Leeds, but Brighton would be perfect.
But Bamford doesn't either.
Yep. Okay, that's fair.
And he's fit enough. It's like that. If there's one thing that Olivier Giroud is, the dude's fit. He's like built out of granite. He's amazing.
Yeah. All right.
He's also 35. Anyway, we've got to get to the week. We were just going to go like, hey, let's just talk about the Champions League, but we're excited, and the Champions League ended up being awesome. And then one last, hey, fuck you, Atletico. If you're supposed to be awesome, don't draw 1-1 against the Bayern C team. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And they're going to get through anyway, which is annoying, but.
So, Mr. Mike Salerno, the floor is yours. Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, Tottenham Hotspur versus Arsenal. You've got to feel good about this.
You'd think that. And then, we had a game today. We didn't play very well. We played LASK. I don't know what LASK stands for. All I know is it was far away. Didn't go great. We were down 1-0, went up 2-1. It was actually quite frenetic towards the end. It was 2-1 in the 80th minute, and it finished 3-3.
Good times. Why are you giving up all those goals is my question.
Because Davinson Sanchez is a terrible defender primarily, and we had Joe Hart, your old friend, in net. You actually
come on, keep assisting.
Yeah, you should
David, more magic.
You should catch the highlights of this game because Joe Hart just gave away 2 goals in 5 minutes, and it was hard to watch.
Country Joe Hart, crazy.
Oh, not good. Not good.
Guy.
That's not going to affect Sunday, but what will affect Sunday is that Mourinho went pretty hard on this lineup, right?
Yeah, what bothered me. All I cared about was who was in the lineup. I'm like, why the fuck is Højbjerg playing this game?
Højbjerg played the whole 90 minutes. Son played 80.
And Ndombele, what are these guys doing in here? Like, what?
And I'll say something else. Ndombele looked like a world beater in the first half against Chelsea last weekend, and he was on for about 15-20 in the second half. And speaking of the what did you say about this? Bill Simmons, the
body language doctor.
Body language doctor. Holy shit. He looked disinterested, exhausted, gassed, just totally shot. And I was actually talking shit to a friend of mine who's a Chelsea fan. I'm like, Ndombele made Conte look completely irrelevant in the first half because he did. And he came out of the break like he had the Monstars from Space Jam take all of his ability away. It was like, where the fuck did you go?
So just to be fair, LASK is in Austria, so that's not bad. But on the Wikipedia, the result came up, and all I could look at was the manager's name. If this isn't the toughest manager name who also does porn, his name is Dominic with a K, Thalhammer. That must mean like
name.
Big dick ass fucker.
I think the K on the end of Dominic really drives the point home.
It's like a little dick in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, a big one.
It's a hammer. Yeah.
So Dominic Thalhammer. God, I want to know this man.
Dominic Thalhammer's boys scored in the 84th to tie it, and then in the 93rd to tie it again. And we expended a lot of energy for a little bit of result there.
Yeah, Mourinho giveth, Mourinho taketh away. It's like, why are we doing this?
So Ndombele played, I don't know, roughly 80 minutes. Lo Celso played like 70. Son played 85. That's my takeaway for today. So, and Arsenal rolled out their C team.
Right, but none of your defense played. That's key as well.
That's correct. Well, Dyer made a cameo at the end, but that's fine. Yeah, I'm concerned because I think going into Sunday, I don't know what Arsenal will bring.
Will there be fans though?
Yes, there will be 2,000. There will be 2,000 Tottenham Hotspur supporters at the new stadium for the first time against Arsenal. Believe it or not, because the first North London derby at the new stadium was
on the Arsenal side. They're coming off just an abomination of a result. They almost killed Jimenez from Wolves with the head of David Luiz.
That was wild.
He cracked his skull. And they're insipid. The Paella Pulis joke is just, I can't get enough of it for Arteta. They're just not scoring. They did have a good game today in the Europa, but Europa is Europa. Like we all kind of just go, it matters until it doesn't matter. They beat Rapid Wien, which I believe is also
in Austria.
In Austria, yes.
But they were home, I believe.
Right, they were home, so they didn't have to travel. But, Arsenal keeps rolling out these kid lineups. I mean, it's like, Maitland-Niles, Nelson, Mari, Nketiah. They had Lacazette in the 10 role. They're just trying to find this number 10 that they can't seem to find one. It's really weird, like that they have one that they can't play. And I don't know if you're this deep into the Arsenal thing with Ozil. He supported the Muslims in China, that Ugyar thing.
Yep.
And then they were just like, okay, poof.
Totally distanced themselves overnight, which was awfully interesting.
And I get it, right? Like, it's not worth playing over $100 million.
Right.
Right? Because they're a team that plays in red, and that's like a big thing in China. That's not a joke. I'm not being funny.
I believe you. Yeah.
Right? Like, the Rockets wear red. Like, all the teams that wear red, it's a lucky color. The red flag, the whole
connection with the Rockets.
Yeah. The red thing is big. And so Arsenal are actually hurting themselves for a political reason, frankly, a monetary but political reason, right? No guts.
At this point, what do they have to lose to throw Ozil in there? But I don't know that he is the answer they're looking for.
Dude,
I don't know what
it is. They can't open anyone up. They're dying for a 10. Dying.
Yeah, I know. But
so anyway, but Arsenal are coming into this game weak. They just
and that's kind of where the Tottenham fandom in me kind of sprouts back to life, because I'm like, how much worse could think I'm not quite sure, but
now I mean, it's a North London derby.
I think they get better than this, right? Like, I think they show up.
They'll come for a little bit more juice. Yeah,
absolutely. So
now, but they've been good defensively mostly.
Sure.
I'd say.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the scoring that's the problem. Like, if Mourinho's gonna play it tight, they're not gonna score.
Well, and that's kind of the interesting thing, and we talked a little bit about this on Twitter when the lineup came out on Saturday or Sunday for the Chelsea game, and you asked me how I was feeling, and I was frustrated because, I mean, first of all, this is my own doing, right? I'm like, you should know better by now, Mike. But when I look at teams that are inferior, specifically in the midfield, which I believe that Chelsea was to Tottenham starting lineup on Sunday, I get frustrated that he's willing to let them have the ball so much, because so much can go wrong, right? When you could just boss them. So that's where I look at this Arsenal team, and I have full confidence that if you had they do like the best 11s and all that stuff, Tottenham would have all 11. There wouldn't be a single Arsenal player on the field, right? But
maybe who? Bellerin, maybe not even Aubameyang.
Not even, yeah, right. So
you'd get that. Maybe if you played a 4-3-3, you'd get one winger on the side.
Sure, I'll give you one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm not concerned about any being overmatched in any part of the field.
I feel like a bad result, it'll be a draw, right? Like Mourinho it'll be like Dower.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he's gone full like 2016 Chelsea mode, where he's just. Or not 2016 Chelsea. Whatever the last time he won with Chelsea was.
15.
Where 15.
Whatever, 14.
where he just kind of just
No,
bunkered.
it's 14 because 15's Leicester.
That's right. And then 16 was Conte.
Yes.
I just, with all the attacking prowess that you've got with Kane and Son, and by the way, Bale hasn't really been released yet, and Bergwijn is looking decent. It's all counterattacking. I don't know, because you haven't done that.
I mean,
right? You did it against City.
Really, what you want him to play a 4-3-3 with only Højbjerg as the hold.
Exactly.
Right.
And you've got more or less. You've got a push-pull system of Lo Celso and Ndombele.
Right. You play the two. They play as way City play, right? With Ndombele, the one dropping back when they need to defend, and Lo Celso always floating. But then you lose the Kane piece, right? Does Kane then turn into like Firmino, where he drops back and does all the work with the two wide men just sort of bombing on?
Yeah, and I think one of the other really underrated problems that they face is that they don't have a right back that defends worth a goddamn, right? You've got Serge Aurier and Matt Doherty, both who are very, very good at crossing, very, very, attack oriented, and can even put a shot on net. But boy, are they trouble or in and around their own box. So what we've sort of employed,
you don't have to worry though, because Arsenal can't score.
No. But what we've done to mitigate that is we've actually pushed them further up the field and allowed Sissoko to come in more or less as a babysitter. So he's one of those. He's sort of next to Højbjerg on his right, and he just kind of veers over. I mean, there's multiple times against City and Chelsea where you've seen more. You're like, I don't want to say because they're both French, shall we say, or Ivorian. You're like, wait, I thought that was Aurier. Oh, wait, it's Sissoko because he's covering for him.
Well, I mean, I guess the real issue is like, are you going to give the respect to Arsenal that you gave to Chelsea and City?
I hope not.
The answer should be no.
I hope not. They don't deserve it. And frankly, Chelsea has a fantastic attacking three, but if you can't get the ball to them, then fuck them.
Yeah, but the team's good. I'm really starting to get scared of
that. Their attacking three and the bench talent they've got is unbelievable. And if Havertz comes into the midfield on a full-time basis, we might see a little different opinion there. But they had what? They had Jorginho, Mount, and Conte. And I counted, it was until the 27th minute for Arlo White to mention either Jorginho or Mount at all.
Yeah. Mount's not a line breaker. He's a carrier.
He's a shit Harry Winks is what he is.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but, I mean, he does certain things well, but he's just not he's not perfect.
Sure. But I really hope, I think that they gave Chelsea way too much respect. And I think that I worry that they're going to do that with Arsenal. And then the question becomes, well, if they're going to do that with Arsenal and they did it with Chelsea, where's the line? What teams are you going to not employ this strategy for?
He's going to employ it against every team.
Right. So when you're playing Burnley, does the ball just sit there for 90 minutes? Like, does anybody fucking want it? Right? Like what are we doing here?
That's a team they'll have to try and break down. But where do you want to go?
They did. But
where do you want to go next?
There's, I haven't even looked at the slate that much. Let's talk about Chelsea Leeds, because that is a potential game for drop points for the Blues, I think.
That is dreamy.
Yeah, that's a
so
fun
I
one.
I was reading one of these stat ball things, and it's just like Leeds create the most chances and give up the most chances against.
It's a lot of fun.
So I mean, they average like something like 25 shots a game or 20 shots a game, and then give up 16.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be end to end, and I can't tell you how many times you hear, "How is this game still 0-0?" Every time you watch Leeds, because when they don't score, and it's just up and down madness. The game against Everton was great. They completely annihilated them. I do think that they can be found out because it's all man marking, right? They just run around marking people,
right.
And they rely on Phillips, their holding deep midfielder, to get everything done. But they're super fun, and Chelsea should have a good time. The problem is that if it goes up and down, I think Chelsea's finishers are better.
And it's not close. The thing that I struggle with Leeds is that they absolutely blitzed Everton and Arsenal in the last two games, and yet they got smoked by Crystal Palace 2-3 weeks ago. And
because this is going to happen,
right? And coming off a good smacking against Leicester too. Which if I were to tell you before the game, hey, Leicester's going to win 4-1 against Leeds, you go, yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Vardy's probably going to get loose and do his thing. and you're probably going to get 1 or 2 from Barnes or whatever.
Well, it's a matter of luck, right? For them, it's if they don't finish chances and you finish yours. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous to say it this way, but they can get blown out, right?
Yeah,
they're going to blow people out, but they're going to get blown out once in a while. They're going to, and their defense is all over the place. Like it just, they're not talented enough to play the way they play all the time. And sometimes they start giving up balls in the buildup and they in trouble, right? Like, it's one thing, you kind of like when you see Arsenal fuck up early Unai Emery era, when you're just like, this is going to go badly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. I think that game's awesome. I also am really jazzed and excited because Liverpool is limping and they're playing Wolves. Granted, they're at home and they haven't lost since the 4th century at home. So, we're hoping that this is the Mongol hordes that can break them.
What a great parallel. That is exactly what Wolves are. They're the Mongolians. Wow, that's fantastic. Well done.
So let's just hope they don't have one last stand in Constantine in Istanbul or something like that, or whatever the fuck it was, Constantinople, and sort of tap into their Christianity and fight as one last time for God, and hope that the Mongol hordes, just Dothrakis, whatever the fuck you want to call them, can come through one more time. But Wolves come through with their own big injury in Jimenez having his head cracked open, which is bad because he's their Aguero, basically, in my view. But the thing I like about this game is, like, one, this is going to be quality, right? You've got 2 really, really well-coached teams with Klopp, like you said, is the best manager in Europe, and Spiritu Santo, who is, whether he can do it at another team, I don't know, but this unit, he's now doing the hard thing where they're transitioning new players in and they're still playing the same way, right? So you lose Doherty, you've lost Jota, and now Podence and Neto are taking over. They got Semedo from Barcelona. It was shaky at first, but you still feel like it's Wolves, right? And, I think that there could be something interesting about this. If Jimenez is out, maybe Traore gets unleashed finally, right? It's
possible.
Right? He's kind of not had, like, you wanted him to kick on. Like last season, maybe it's because when he played City, he fucking annihilated City 3 times, even though they only played twice. There was an extra game that I had nightmares about that I thought was a game, but it wasn't. And he just has that pace, right? He just doesn't look like a soccer player.
He looks like a running back, and
he looks like something else, right?
When he fouls somebody,
he's actually not that good, which is the funny thing about it. But he literally just kicks the ball past you and is gone.
You know what he looks like? He looks like he belongs on the U.S. team.
Right. That's how our team should look.
Yeah. But just stout and fast as fuck, and just, I'm not that great, but I'm faster and stronger than you, right?
Right.
The thing I wonder about Wolves exactly with Jimenez being out is where those minutes go, right? And Fabio Silva is the guy who I'm looking
at. The hair. Oh, God.
Hair. So for the uninitiated, 18-year-old sort of Portuguese prodigy.
They paid a lot of money for him.
And, they paid a ton of money for him. And he's had a couple of smatterings, and I don't know if he's played that much in Europa League, but I think that he's going to have a part to play in this game. I just don't know how much, right? So,
or they could try and play like the small. They could do like they could do a Podence Neto, Traore thing where they just kind of do the 3 and they kind of just
absolutely
fast it up.
Nonetheless, I think Silva, at the very least, I think he gets 30 minutes in this game, and I'm curious to see if he gets more than that. But he's the potential, guy in the weeds who could fuck shit up for Liverpool.
It's all about chaos for me, and I just want Liverpool to drop more points because they're clearly they're the class of the league, and they'll probably win. I mean, they're at home, but another draw, like draws are good, right? Like draws keep things tighter. So we went through Tottenham and Arsenal. There's really, should probably cover before I go to my team. We're playing Fulham. Let's talk about West Ham, Manchester United. West Ham got lucky. They should not have beat Villa, but they on a smash and grab, Bayerhama came in, and now United again. Can Ole do it again? Be under pressure, have a bad result, and then pull one out again against West Ham. Now, this does not bode well for them because it's not a team where he can play on the break. They're going to have to break West Ham down.
Right.
And West Ham can be broken down. I mean, Villa broke them down. No problem.
Yeah. I don't think that they'll have much of an issue with that. But yeah, I think we see goals in this game, right? I don't know that either team's going to keep a clean sheet. I think that West Ham's going to get after United a little bit.
Well, they'll hit them on the break for sure.
Right. And I think Benrahma is a really interesting piece to kind of throw into the stew there.
And my guy Bowen. Yeah.
He's fantastic too. So they it's weird how they've got a lot of like bubbling at the surface quality of attacking talent, but they don't have that guy, right? They bought Haller, and he sort of isn't that guy. But Antonio might be down again. I'm not entirely sure.
What they don't have is like a lock pick midfielder, right?
Well, and they have Lanzini, but they don't play him.
Or because he doesn't defend and he doesn't do what right. They're playing Socek and Rice. They're like, this is what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
And they use Cresswell as like a shit Andy Robinson.
Yep.
You know, he whips crosses in from deep. You know, they play that way. And Souček gets goals that way. And then they hope for Antonio doing hold up, and then, you know, who's the other? They have another winger, a tricky guy. Can't remember his name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But West Ham are good, and they're not going to play bad 2 weeks in a row. Although they tend to play worse at home. My team plays Fulham. This is another example, like you said, of like narrative. We got 2 shitty games in a row. City might put 5 past Fulham, and everyone will say City are back.
Right. And that was the thing, is that early on in the season, we talked about it. If you go all the way back, you know, I said City's starting the season with a gauntlet. They still have a game in hand. I don't have the table in front of me, but they're not that far back.
Yeah, everything's pretty tight. Like, it's all relative. Like, you win 3 games in a row, you might be top of the league. Easy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, City have been playing well, but the thing that I want to bring up here first, before anyone says anything, and I know Guardiola won't say this, but I think secretly, City have the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
And they have to change their personality to be that way. But Ruben Diaz has completely changed City's culture in terms of defense. We have a company type, and all of a sudden, all those bad defenders we had are starting to look confident again. So John Stones has played great for 2 games in a row. We just played a game with Eric Garcia, who's basically like having your kid brother play. He's this tiny little dude. He looked confident playing next to Diaz, although I don't know why Diaz was playing that game in the Champions League. But, you know, City are starting to look, they're not giving up the goals that you hated to see, right? They kind of were like, oh, okay, we've got guys. And now, you know, Guardiola knows he can't just play one holding midfielder now because Fernandinho can't do it, and he's given up on Rodri doing it. So he always plays 2 now. Mm-hmm. And so City are just defensive, but way less creative. Like, there's only one De Bruyne, not David Silva and De Bruyne.
Yep.
And then between Bernardo and Foden and Gundogan, there's not a replacement yet for that David Silva thing that he does. It's magic.
Did Foden play 90 minutes in the Champions League?
I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, maybe. He might have. I don't know.
Fucking Pep.
He just doesn't play him. He just doesn't.
I know.
Because I don't think he, you know, I think he sees him as a winger, as an attacker, right? He doesn't play him in the midfield yet.
I mean, I've always sort of watched him as a very much like a 2016 Dele Alli type, like a second striker. He's not the 10, but not the 9.
Yeah, but he can't fight like that yet. Like, he's not big enough, right? He can get pushed off the ball. He's got a little bit of a Winks problem, right? Where you're just like,
yeah, that's fair.
But I mean, he's dynamic and he gets in the box, and he's probably weirdly City's best shooter, not finisher, but shooter.
Right. I think that's fair. One more game I want to bring up.
Oh, you do.
And then the rest of them suck. Your Brighton against the world's Southampton. Now, the big question The big question for Southampton is going to be, listen, the floor dropped out on them. And I know what that feels like. So my condolences to the Saints supporters out there. But can they and that's the Monday night game, can they get their mojo back? They're right there still, right? So that was a tough 3 points to drop.
This has got draw written all over it.
Probably.
But there's a weird South Coast kind of, there's a little something by people by the water thing. It's like weird regional things. You're like, oh, okay, you're the South team? I don't know. Well, we're the South team.
We're the South team. We have it in the name.
Exactly.
But that's kind of where I look at this game and I go, can Southampton get back on the horse and fight on again for
that's a good game. See, this is the kind of content you're gonna get from us. This is a good game to watch. Like Monday, Brighton and Hove Albion versus Southampton. If you think that it's the game to just no. Watch this game. It's a good one. Like Brighton has played some of the better games you'll see. Like the Aston Villa game versus Brighton was great. The Man United game versus Brighton was good. They are a team that create chances and miss them and have weird fucking VAR shit happen. And Tariq Lamptey running around being a Smurf. Literally, he's like a Mark Duper fucking Miami Dolphins 1984 type left back. He's tiny and he's from Chelsea. There's Chelsea loanees everywhere. There's one doing this podcast. He's in the background there because I got him on loan from Chelsea because why not?
Aveline, you got her from Chelsea. She is a Chelsea.
Right, she's a Chelsea loanee. That would be bad. That means I have to give her back. I'm not giving her back. We have an option to buy. But that's it. That's an awesome game. I would be remiss to say my favorite team, Aston Villa, are not playing because there is a COVID shutdown for the Friday game. There was supposed to be a game tomorrow, but Newcastle has been infected with the COVIDian. And but the thing is with my guy Jack Grealish, the most handsome man in the world. The price tag is now being discussed openly at 100 million. And if you recall, before the playoff game that Aston Villa went up, Spurs were going to buy him for 40.
I don't want to talk about it. They offered 35, and Villa was like, get lost. And Daniel Levy was like, you need money. You're going bankrupt. And they said, nope, 40. And Daniel Levy walked away.
And then they got bought by some Chinese company.
Yeah. And that was in the Pochettino era. So again, it's so interesting that not only has Mourinho changed the culture of the club and the players and the style of play and all that shit, he's went into Daniel Levy's office and kicked him in the bald head and went, you're spending money now. This is why you signed me. I'm going to tell you what the fuck to do. I just once wish Pochettino wasn't like this. It's just that,
you know what it is? It's literally the silver hair. It's a little bit more alpha. I don't think. Let's litigate this. I just think that the Pat Riley rings on the desk thing that Mourinho can do has a lot of weight. He just goes, what have you won with? I have won as an individual manager more than this club's entire history.
Yep.
Fuck you. I know what I'm doing. Right. Yep. Exactly. Right. Or you're just, he doesn't even have to say, or you'll hear from me. Everyone knows what he's going to do. And I think maybe they had a bit more of a working relationship. I think Levy is smart enough to go, okay, this is what I've got. Right. This is how I can do this. Like, I think what happened with Man United and Mourinho is it could have worked, but I think Mourinho told them who to get, and they were just like, well, what about this guy? Here you go.
Yeah.
Whereas Levy's like, okay, this is what, there's probably just a lot more transparency because you got the sense that Mourinho was like, you guys are fucking morons.
I think, and I think that as things went through, right, like Levy matured in his role significantly because he felt remorse of losing the most charismatic manager they've had in 25 years, right? And the guy who brought them from nothingness to the Champions League final. But in doing so, he realized that he failed him systemically over the course of 2-3 years. I understand the stadium. I understand all the expenses. But He could have made some of the purchases he made this summer. He got Højbjerg for 12, 15, something like that. He got Doherty for a net of 3. I'm sorry, it was Højbjerg for a net of 3 because it was Kyle Walker-Peters going the other way.
Right. Well,
and it was Doherty for 12 or 15. Those are the purchases where you go, that shit. You didn't even do that. And so
they went a whole 18 months without a new player.
Yes. That is a Premier League record.
Right. And
put it in the trophy case.
And basically ruined Eriksen in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, because he played every minute of every game.
Right. And they could have sold him had they had a replacement for like 80 million to Real at one point.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I think the difference, right, exactly. The difference between the seminal point where Liverpool passed.
Could you imagine had they sold fucking Eriksen and just replaced him with Grealish?
Well, that's exactly it. God damn it. I'm not sleeping tonight now. That's exactly it. Is that you have Liverpool rocketed past Tottenham the minute they sold Coutinho, bought Van Dijk. I don't think was Salah part of that money as well.
It was all It was Mane, then Salah, then Van Dijk. Like they had, because remember Salah had that 30-goal season. That was the bonkers season. We were like, what the fuck is happening in Liverpool? This team is insane. Then they get Van Dijk in January of that season.
Yes, that's right.
Right, but so he comes in the middle.
Over the last 5 years, maybe a little more than 5 years, you've sold just to Barcelona, Luis Suarez, and Philippe Coutinho for what? Roughly 250, maybe a little more than that, $1 million?
Yeah, but the Suarez money was burned. It's just gone. Like it was gone.
Yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is they didn't really have a choice with Suarez. And they were like Coutinho, they were like, bye, because they didn't give a shit because they already had a plan for that money.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
What Tottenham didn't have was a plan because every cent and piece of attention was on the stadium. So instead, and they were like, well, there's never going to be a way that we can replace Christian Eriksen. And Liverpool looked at them, laughed, and pressed into another gear and ran right past them. Right? The season that they played at Wembley, Liverpool played Van Dijk with Dejan Lovren, and Harry Kane beat him like he owed him money. And
is that the header game where he just tries to jump and just goes past him?
Yeah, basically.
I know that one.
Yeah. It ended up being 4-1, I think. And I was like, one of these things is not like the other.
Well, and then you had the Mignolet season, and then
but the thing is that Liverpool reinvested their money in such an extremely shrewd way that they left everybody, including City, frankly, in the dust.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the other one, and we can keep going. This is actually really good. I'm happy to talk about this stuff because, you don't get this stuff. If someone is into football, this is like nuanced, deep stuff that people don't talk about. One of the things I think about with Spurs to kick on is they're missing that goalkeeper too, to be fair.
Oh, I don't know. I think Hugo has been good. I think he's been quite good this year and better than normal for him.
He had some bad seasons.
No, he did. He did, and he was hurt a lot of last year early on. He's very interesting to me because
he smashed his shoulder. He missed all of one season recently.
Yeah, it was last year. He got hurt. He like collarbone or some elbow. It was a dislocated elbow.
I have come to respect the goalkeeper. Because you see what happened with Liverpool going up to Alisson. You see what happened with City going to Ederson. And you see what's happened with Chelsea going to Mendy. It can completely transfer your team. It's the last thing you need, though.
It's interesting. It actually works the opposite of what I'm used to in hockey, right? Like, so I'll use the Rangers as an example. When they had Henrik Lundqvist, they had the best goalie in the league for basically a stretch of 10 to 15 years. They more or less would like take that for granted.
Yeah.
And they would abuse it, right? They're like, we don't have to play defense. We've got that fucking guy. Whereas when they've got the backup in, and I've been on teams too where this is actually true, you sort of fight a little bit more for him and you try to limit the ability to have high danger shots and all that stuff. But in football, where the difference is that the belief sort of stems out of the back.
Because you don't realize how much shit goalkeepers do. Right? It's the catching of the cross. It's the no hesitation. I'm coming out for this, right?
Well, and it's just frankly, it's positioning too, right? It's the confidence to be like, oh shit, you're right. I should have been over there. Got it. Yep.
And they do yell and tell people where to go.
Yes.
Like you don't see that stuff. But anyway, we're ranting and raving. I like this. I like when we go long, and I hope that people enjoy it. Subscribe to the pod. We need you. If you went this far, you might as well subscribe.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
We've had a lot of questions for you. Leave us a comment, and we will invite you on, and we will ask you to your face what you're doing.
Yeah. All right, Mike. It was really great to have you back. Basically,
it was good to be back.
You give an extra half hour to the show, and you're half the show. Because when I try and do it by myself, I only can do about a half hour before I go, I think I'm going to kill myself and try and jump and change my background to a building that I can pretend that I'm jumping off of.
Which nobody ends up seeing anyway.
I have them all stored. One day I'm going to post all of these.
Well, it is good to be back. I feel pensive about Sunday. Tottenham Arsenal. I've got 2-1 Spurs, and I might be on one of those buildings. We'll see. I don't know.
No, well, as long as it's virtual and not real, we'll stick with you. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. This was a crap football, crap pundit production. We will return on Mondays and Thursdays for the Premier League season. We will talk about soccer and other things that interest us. Mike is crazy. Laurent is insane. That's why it works.